Hello, everybody. I'm here with Heather Kampf. Heather ran at University of Minnesota, where she was a nine-time NCAA All-American. She was also the 2006 indoor 800-meter national champion, and today she runs professionally with Team ASICS. Also, Heather is pretty well known for her run in 2008 at the Big Ten Championships, where she had an unbelievable race, which she'll talk about a little bit later. And as I tell everybody, her YouTube run is something that I share with all kinds of athletes that I work with: wrestlers, lacrosse players, tennis players, and of course runners. And we're going to hear about Heather's story and also about her mentality when it comes to running. So first off, Heather, why don't you start by talking to us a little bit about your mentality when you go into a race, professionally, college, doesn't really matter, but tell us a little bit about your mentality.
So going into any race, I think I need to always believe that all things are possible. That's something that I just kind of believe in all aspects of my life, but especially in a situation where you're going to be testing yourself and trying to see what you can get out of your body. That's a good time to do it. I think I always just have to have a sense of knowing that regardless of what's going on in the weather or who else is in my race or anything like that, I can turn every aspect of that into a positive and make it to my advantage. I think that on any given day, a race can go a lot of different ways, but I want it to go my way.
Great. And talk about the indoor versus outdoor elements, because I know you ran indoor track when you were at Minnesota, but also now do some outdoor activities. So obviously the elements really play a factor. I know a lot of the athletes I work with right now are dealing with storms and rain and snow and all the craziness that Mother Nature brings. So talk about how you handle those circumstances and how you still are able to race, as you said, your way.
Definitely. Yeah, that's funny you say that. We just got a foot of snow here in Minnesota just last night. So I was on the indoor track today rather than outdoors and preparing for my outdoor season ahead.
Wow.
So I would say tactically, I think the races are a lot different when you're going indoor versus outdoor if you're doing a road race or something like that, especially given just the indoor track is a lot shorter. It's 200 meters versus 400 meters. You really need to kind of plan your attack and your positioning a little bit differently because generally it's smarter not to pass on a curve. You want to pass on a straightaway, but you're kind of always turning on an indoor track, so that's something to kind of keep in mind. But I think I always try and play up my strengths and know what I believe in. So if it's going to be a windy day on an outdoor meet or something like that, I always try and tell myself that I've been lifting really hard and I'm really strong so I can get through this, or whatever the case may be. Given the weather situation, but it's nice knowing that everyone is in it. So it's not something that you're only dealing with, it's something that the entire field has to deal with while you're out there. So just keeping that in mind, it makes it feel like a level playing field no matter what. So it doesn't have to be a factor that affects your physical performance anymore.
Absolutely. And you talked about preparation and the idea of, I want to prepare for this and make sure that I know exactly what I want to do. But we all know races don't go according to plan, and adaptability is also important. So talk about the ability to prepare, and then to be adaptable when it comes time for a race.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Well, our coaches in high school and in college and still now really emphasize the importance of doing visualization. And I think it is important to have a picture in your mind of your absolute best performance and just to be able to kind of expect good things to come your way. But at the same time, like you said, there are always going to be things that kind of get in the way, or situations where you just can't have that perfect race. But having a plan A, a plan B, and even a plan C, just so you have somewhere to go to and be prepared with something to kind of just ignore any of those factors that are going to get in your way and still pursue, instead of allowing a B race to turn into a D race. My coach would always say, let it be a B race instead of an A race, because you'll be much happier in the end. And even just having positive affirmations as you're going into the race, I think, is important. For me, I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned, is that in some point in every race, you're going to get that feeling like, oh no, I'm not feeling as good anymore. I'm kind of on the downhill now, so I need to have something at that exact moment in a race to decide that I want to push through this, and I believe that I have more, and I trust that I can finish the race if I push through it. So just anything that's an I am kind of thing, like I am strong, I am confident, I am ready, any of those things to have prepared for you right there helps you get through those moments of questioning yourself.
Awesome. And you talked about visualization. I know you just recently had an injury and a little bit of a setback. Talk about how visualization helped you when you were injured, and also anything else that you did to become mentally stronger from your injury.
Yeah, well, anytime you're dealing with an injury, it's kind of frustrating for an athlete who's kind of used to go, go, go all the time, to have to sit back and kind of just watch from the sidelines a little bit more. But I actually did a lot of like projects in school about the subject and how important it is to do visualization, not only to prepare yourself mentally for getting back into the playing field when it's time and you're healthy again, but also just visualizing healing, going to the area of your body that's in pain or that's injured at the time. So there's just so much research out there that says that if you're actually visualizing like good blood flow going to the area and things healing back together the way they should be, if you can get a picture or a diagram of what the actual joint or muscle or whatever is supposed to look like, and picture your body doing that, I think it's so important. But in that time in my injury, I think you just get so much more motivation when you realize I may or may not. My last injury, I could barely even walk. I couldn't bend my knee. So in that situation, I realized this is something that I could lose, and it's not infinite and it's not forever. So just having that motivation of knowing if I get to come back and when I get to come back, because I plan to, I'm going to make the most of this. And just really, you kind of become recharged in those instances where it's taken away from you for a little bit.
Very cool. And I know anxiety and nerves probably play a huge role, especially coming back from an injury, but really
Yeah.
in general, big meets, big matches, big events. Talk about how you handle anxiety and nerves, and how you interpret those nerves when it comes time to perform.
Yeah, well, I always say it's a problem if I don't have any nerves. You want to be a little bit nervous, otherwise, you really don't care about what you're doing. So for me, I think I always try and tell myself that anything I feel is good. If I feel a little bit queasy in my stomach even before a race, it just is because I'm fully fueled and I'm ready to go. And you just find a way to verbalize everything that you're experiencing into a positive. But I think that I've told a lot of my athletes that I coach myself that in the cases where you're nervous and everything like that, you just need to start visualizing what it's going to be like when you're done, and know that you want to have a positive picture of how that looks at the end. So, and a lot of the times, as soon as the gun goes off, you're fine. It's just that time in preparation when you're seeing other people that you're competing against and stuff like that that really sort of brings you down. So, my coach in college always used to tell us to kind of walk into any race situation with a chip on your shoulder, or kind of like you almost have a secret. So I think in those situations where you're feeling anxiety about who you're racing or what you're doing, you can kind of think to yourself, like, these guys don't even know what I have to give today. They don't know my potential. That's something that I'm still moving forward and discovering myself. So just kind of remembering that you're still on this journey, I think, is really important to calm those nerves and just be prepared to what you have to do at that day.
Awesome. And you talked about journey. So we're going to go back to 2008 and a journey that you had, only a couple minute journey, but pretty fantastic and unbelievable journey. So talk to us a little bit about that race in 2008, which is how I found you and how
Yeah.
I got to know Heather. But talk to us about that race and just sort of walk us through your mentality before the race and what you were thinking going in, and then sort of what happened during the race and then what you were thinking afterwards as well.
Okay. So that race, it was the 2008 Indoor Big Ten Championships. We were hosting it at home at the University of Minnesota. So it already kind of had a lot of weighty expectations in it because we had won the Big Ten Championship the year before indoor, and we're going for our second title. That race was actually day two, the final day. But given that I had a pretty good range, I've always been doing multiple events at Big Ten Championships. So I did the mile prelim and the 600 prelim the day before. I had just finished the mile final less than an hour before this race, and then I'm getting ready to toe the line again. It's always kind of funny because usually you like to have like at least an hour between races, but I would leave the field house to cool down and then turn around to come back towards the field house, and that was my warm up for the next race. So that's always
Plan A, plan B, plan C,
right.
plan D.
Yeah, you compartmentalize those things and you just focus on what's going on right now. And so, as I told the line for that race, I just had to really tell myself again that all things are possible. It's just 3 laps, and I just need to do this for my team. And I think at those, especially at Big Ten Championships, where I've had so many races to do in such a short period of time, I almost visualize myself as a machine. Like, I've been training so long, I've greased my machine up to be exactly as it needs to be. So it's prepared to do what it needs to do. And the only thing that's going to get in the way is if I have doubts about it. So the gun went off, the race started, and in a 3 lap race, I was doing pretty well, just kind of stayed right off the leader for the first 2 laps. And then just as I decided that this is my time to make my move with 200 meters to go, I kind of got tangled up a little bit with the girl that I was passing. So one foot kind of got tangled behind, and then as I was trying to correct that footstep, I think she caught my other foot and I just went down fast. The funny part about this whole thing, if you watch the video, is I have no recollection of falling that hard. I even after the race, my parents were gushing about it and being like, "Heather, you got just a big fall. Are you okay?" And like, just that was just the most amazing thing ever. And I'm like, "You guys, I don't know why everyone's making such a big deal out of this. Like, I barely fell. The only thing I remember is having my hands on the track and getting up and moving again and seeing how much distance had been created in that time that I was down. So I got up and saw that distance, and the only thing I was really thinking was I need to finish. I need to get some points for the team. And then I started catching the first girl, and I thought, okay, well, this is good. I can catch one. And then kind of coming around the final curve, I heard the announcer say, "And watch out for Heather Dornadin." And I was like, yeah, watch out for me. I'm coming, you guys. And I think just that energy in that place was incredible, and everything just carried me through to the finish line to be able to take those final 2 people on the line. But it was just like an incredible momentum shift. That's the best way I can describe it. It just seemed like I had so much more, and everyone else was maybe staying the same or even slowing down. But it was pretty awesome. And even afterwards, something I think that's fun to share about that is we actually ended up winning that Big Ten championship by 8 points, and I ended up getting 8 points for placing where I did in that race. So it's always just a nice constant reminder to me that if I hadn't gotten up, we could have tied or probably lost the meet. So every little thing counts, and you need to give your all.
Absolutely. And how do you use that experience today? Do you ever fall? Do you ever have experiences where that flashes back in your mind? How do you use that experience to help you, especially as a professional runner?
Yeah, actually, I think prior to that race, even in high school, I fell once at the state meet. I was a senior at cross country, and I did not finish that race. So I think that gave me the knowledge and understanding that I don't want to have that happen again. So that helped me to get through that race. But now moving forward, I have fallen again in other races, but never quite the same success at the end of it. But I think I've just really drawn the understanding that I do have a lot more in me, and just to really believe in that potential and to allow myself to let it out. I think you really don't know what you have until you're fully tested. So it's always something that I look forward to if I have an opportunity to race people that are on paper faster than me. But then I watch that video again. There's no way that I couldn't keep up with anyone at the end of the race if I can stick in there, I think. So that's sort of just something that has really given me a lot of confidence, and something that I've been able to share with a lot of people, and just kind of use as a metaphor for life in a lot of settings. So it's been fun.
Awesome. And you talked about confidence and using that experience as a confidence builder. What are some other things you do to build confidence? Because whenever I talk with athletes, they always say, look, all I need you to do is get me to be confident, get me to feel confident. And I have ways that I help them with confidence, but tell me what your key is, especially when you're struggling or when you fall down, what you use to remain confident in those instances.
Well, I think we always have to draw on our past experience, and the most experience I have in running is practice. So I get a lot of confidence from good workouts and good long runs and things like that. And I think just the same thing about visualizing your body getting stronger just as you would in an injury setting. I think it's important that after you finish a tough, hard workout and you run faster than you ever have on the track before, just in practice, you have to just visualize, like, I see myself differently now. I see myself as a stronger athlete and more of that machine that I'm pretending I am, you know? So I think I draw a lot of confidence from that. And even just like putting on my uniform and representing Team A6 and Team USA Minnesota, I think having people that are counting on me is something that I take a lot of pride in, which gives me confidence to know that this isn't all up to me. I'm representing myself, I'm representing my teams, and I'm representing my God. So I think those are all things that sort of just build me up, and I know that I'm not alone out there no matter what.
Awesome. And you talked about, you know, the ability to recover, the ability to be confident, the ability to stay humble in your preparation. What do you think the biggest key is, especially for athletes from a mental perspective, that they bring for performances on game day, a big race, a big meet? What do you think that number one thing is that really allows you to be successful during performances?
I think, I mean, just speaking from my own experience, I think it's important to come in with that chip on your shoulder and that attitude that I'm going to put it all out there, but also have the preparation that it's not going to be easy. Because I think a lot of times, in practice especially, I never run a full race in practice, so I never get to that all out point where I really need to dig deep. So if I just prepare and remind myself, like, I'm excited for this is going to be a great thing, but it's going to hurt. And to just know that that is part of the game as well. I think when you said being humble or having some humility with that, just knowing that you do have some limitations, but you're going to push them as far as you can is important.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
talk to us a little bit about what you're doing now. So it sounds like coach, run, speaker. What are you doing now? And if people want to get to know you a little better on Twitter, I know you have a blog. Why don't you tell us where they can find you and tell us a little bit about what you're up to today?
Sure. While I'm still currently living in Minneapolis, I'm training for Team USA Minnesota, and then I'm also I'm coaching at Apple Valley High School. It's a south suburb of Minnesota here. And then, yep, I do work actually at a specialty run shop as well, so I get to work with people and help them pick out the right pair of shoes for them. So I stay busy for sure, but if people want to get a hold of me or learn a little bit more about me and my speaking and things like that, I do have an athlete Facebook page. It's just Heather Kampf. And then I also write a blog that it's just at blogger.com. If you search Heather Kampf, you can find it, or it's called This Is Where I Am, This Is Where I'm Meant to Be, which also I think has a lot to do with my mentality of what I do in my running in my life. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Good luck with the snow in April. That must be
Well,
fun to deal with.
yeah,
And
thank you.
and wishing you the best on your future. I really appreciate you sharing your story and also your mentality with a bunch of other athletes.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Heather. Take care.
You too.
Bye. Bye.